Hi everyone. I'm going to be reading you the Unit 4 Week 3 Approaching Weekly Assessment for Grade 4. You are about to start a test. Make sure you have a good internet connection before starting. Do not use the browser's forward or back buttons while taking this test. Go ahead and press start. Now answer number 1 through 5 based on your answers on Way to Go, Grandma. Way to go, Grandma. Jamal, how is your sister Kellen doing in college? Grandma asked me. How about your brother Michael's baby, Jaden? I hope he's over his cold. I said, Grandma, let me show you how to send emails. If Kellen got an email from you, she'd reply to you in seconds, and Michael's wife would love to email you. Grandma smiled at the thought and then said, You've been offering to teach me for a long time, and I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I think technology has passed me by. Why don't I send Kellen an email? I suggested. You can tell me what to say. Grandma's face lit up, her hesitation and doubt gone, as all she needed was a little help, and she was ready to try. She pulled me over to the computer and pushed me down in the chair. If you insist, she said eagerly. I typed the first letters of Kellen's address. The first whole address immediately appeared. Grandma was amazed and asked, How did the computer know we are writing to Kellen? Grinning, I said, It's magic, I guess. Grandma rolled her eyes and started telling me what she wanted to say to Kellen. As I typed, I purposely made mistakes, and soon Grandma was so frustrated with me that she said, Oh, get up. I can type better than that. Okay, I said, trying to hide my cleverness. My quick thinking even surprised me, as it wasn't often that I outwitted Grandma. I gave her my seat, and with no help, she typed an email to Kellen. When she was finished, I pointed out the send button and she clicked it, smiling from ear to ear. Grandma asked, Do you think Kellen will be surprised? I think she will probably faint, I replied. Then Grandma looked at the computer and asked, Can we write another one? Sending an email to Kellen's mom would really be the icing on the cake. Without waiting for my answer, Grandma positioned her fingers over the keyboard. Just tell me the first letters of Michael's email and the computer will do the rest. So I told her, and she started typing. I left, but a few minutes later, Grandma called me back to the computer. The computer was dinging. She said with a frown, Did I do something wrong? I glanced at the screen. You got a reply from Kellen. I guess she didn't faint after all. Grandma poked me in the ribs and with her elbow and demanded, "Show me how to get to her email, young man, and hurry." Now we're going to look at these parts, and I invite you to please go back and reread at any time because rereading the passage is helpful to gain the understanding of the passage and the question. This question has two parts. First, answer part A, then answer part B. Part A. Read the sentence from the passage. Grandma's face lit up, her hesitation and doubts gone. Which word means almost the same as hesitation? Joy, quiet, uncertainty, unhappiness. Which word from the sentence is a synonym for hesitation? Face, lit, doubts, gone. Read the sentence from the passage. She pulls me over to the computer. Let me rephrase. She pulled me over to the computer and pushed me down in the chair. If you insist, she said eagerly. What do these sentences show about Grandma? She pretends to send an email. She wants to make Jamal happy. She would rather be doing something else. She pretends that Jamal is making her send an email. Why does Jamal make typing mistakes on purpose? To learn how to send an email? To get grandma to type the email? To send an email to a different person? To show how fast it is to send an email. Read the sentences from the passage. Well, okay, I said, trying to hide my cleverness. My quick thinking even surprised me, as it wasn't often that I outwitted Grandma. Which word means almost the same as outwitted? Called, helped, stopped, tricked. Match each part of the story with Jamal's point of view about his grandmother. Drag each point of view to the chart. Part of story beginning, part of story middle, part of story end. Proud, playful, serious. Now we're on to passage number 2. It says, read the passage the good old days before answering numbers 6 through 10. Let's go ahead and read that passage. The good old days. So, Grandma, Jamal asked with a grin, how do you like sending emails? Smiling proudly, his grandmother told him, emailing is a piece of cake. Jamal nodded and said, maybe you could get a new phone and use it for your emails. Grandma said, emailing is already fast enough for me. Jamal, I realize these new phones do amazing and remarkable things, but it's just a treat for me to be able to call someone from wherever I am. You couldn't always do that, Jamal frowned. You had to be in a certain place to call someone when you were growing up? Grandma patted his head and said, you have no idea, Jamal. You had to be next to the phone, and there was only one phone in our house. It was in the living room, and we had our own phone, but we shared the phone line with 5 other families. It was called a party line. It wasn't much of a party because Sheila, who lived across the street, hogged the phone every night. How could 5 families share one phone line? Since the phone was in the living room, what if people were watching TV? Did you have to ask them to turn down the sound all all the time? Grandma explained. Well, at first the TV was only on a few hours each day. Everyone wanted to watch it during those hours, so the sound wasn't a problem. Jamal admitted, I'm only allowed to watch TV a few hours a day, too. She shook her head and said, no, the TV only showed programs for a few hours each day. We were the first on our street to have one. The neighbors came to our house to watch TV, even though the screen was tiny. The most exciting show on TV was about a cowboy and his horse, and it was black and white with absolutely no special effects. That show would look quaint and unusual now. Jamal had another question. I guess you didn't have any computers back then, so how did you do your homework? We did it with paper and pencil, Grandma answered. If you were really lucky, you had a typewriter. What's a typewriter? Jamal wanted to know. Grandma pointed at the computer. A typewriter is like this keyboard, but the first ones had no electricity. You pressed a key and it popped up and printed a letter on the paper. Jamal asked, Grandma, were those the good old days? Laughing, she said, I think any day that you enjoy life is a good old day. Let's go ahead and read question number 8. Select the word in the paragraph that means almost the same as remarkable. Fast, realize, amazing, treat, wherever. This question has 2 parts. First answer part A, then answer part B. Why is Jamal speechless when Grandma tells him about phone party lines? He is surprised that Grandma had a phone. He likes the idea of having a phone party line. He would not want to share one phone line with others. He wonders if Grandma liked talking on the phone. Which sentence from the passage best tells why Jamal is speechless? You had to be in a certain place to call people when you were growing up. Grandma patted his head and said, You have no idea, Jamal. How could 5 families share one phone line? Did you have to ask them to turn down the sound all the time? Read the sentences from the passage. The most exciting show on TV was about a cowboy and his horse, and it was black and white with absolutely no special effects. That show would look quaint and unusual now. Which word means almost the same as quaint? Odd, real, small, ugly. Why does Grandma tell Jamal about the phones and TV from when she was young? To make him laugh? To make him feel sorry for her? To show him how different things were? To show him how things will change soon? Which new information would you learn if the passage were written from Jamal's point of view? If Grandma liked having a TV? If Grandma needs to send an email? If Jamal has ever heard of a typewriter before? If Jamal wants to hear more about the good old days? We are at the end of the assessment. I would like you to please go back and double check all of your answers before you go ahead and finish and turn in this assignment. Again, I would recommend going back and rereading both passages and checking all of your answers before you turn this assignment in. Thanks for watching the Unit 4 Week 3 Approaching Weekly Assessment for Grade 4.